Welcome to Workplace Psychology with Dr. Martha Greidick. I'm Dr. Martha Greidick. This podcast examines a wide variety of work-related issues through the lens of industrial and organizational psychology. And while many of the topics discussed here may be seen as intended for white-collar employees and their employers, in reality, the ideas presented here are applicable across organizations and industries. Additionally, many of the topics discussed here may be applicable outside of the workplace. I encourage you to examine what's presented here, apply what makes sense to you, and simply discard the rest. In a recent podcast episode, I discussed the importance of mentoring at the workplace. And while there are a number of definitions in terms of this concept of mentoring, the bottom line is that however you approach mentoring, it really should be something that is beneficial for both parties, both the mentor and the mentee. Typically, mentoring is thought of as a one-on-one relationship, but it can be a one-to-many type of exchange where there's one mentor and multiple mentees. One thing to remember in that kind of setup is that the mentoring will not be as individualized or as personalized as a one-to-one type of mentoring relationship. The idea of mentoring is just as important in your professional life, your work life, as it is in your personal life. But for the purpose of this podcast, the idea on mentoring here will be presented in terms of a professional type of relationship. So what is a mentoring relationship? Well, we can think of it as a professional relationship, one of mutual respect, a relationship of alliance and collaboration. It's a relationship where individuals work together to, over time, achieve certain goals, be that professional goals or personal goals set by the mentee. What should such a relationship look like? Ideally, the mentor will be someone who has experience and or knowledge that will benefit the mentee. Of course, we want it to be what we would consider a good relationship where you get along, you respect each other, you are able to work together without any issues. Of course, both the mentor and the mentee have to be committed and invested in the relationship so that both can benefit from the mentorship. What are the roles in a mentoring type of relationship? Well, the mentor will very likely be involved in the goal-setting process. And while the goal-setting part can be left to the mentee alone, there's a definite benefit from having the mentor be engaged in the goal-setting part of the process and offering feedback from the very start. Once the goal is set, or goals, if there are more than one goal, then it's time to plan the journey for how to achieve those goals. And of course, the mentor should be involved in that journey planning along with the mentee. This is where the mentor's experience and knowledge will come in handy. As the mentee sets on his or her journey, the mentor can offer feedback and guidance to make sure that journey is as successful and smooth as possible. You may be wondering, how often should the mentor and mentee meet? Well, that really depends on the nature of that particular mentorship, on the number and type of goals, and on the amount of time that both parties have to devote to meeting on a regular basis. You could meet once a month, you could meet once a quarter, maybe once every 6 months. It really depends on a number of variables. You could also begin by meeting more frequently and space out the meetings with the passage of time. Of course, it's understood that the mentor would be available for feedback or guidance in between meetings. But remember that a mentor is not the same thing as a coach. So a mentorship is not the same as a coaching type of relationship. A mentor will offer guidance and feedback and maybe even opportunities to the mentee, but it is not for the mentor to be intimately involved with all of the steps that the mentee takes and all of the actions and efforts that the mentee has to be engaged in. That's more of a coaching relationship. So let's make sure that we understand the difference between the two. So how can this relationship benefit both parties? It's quite obvious that a mentorship will be beneficial to the mentee, but what about the mentor? Well, the mentor can benefit from mentoring someone as well. First and foremost, the mentor can pass on his knowledge, expertise, and experience, and that can be very satisfying to pass that on to the next person or persons. They get the satisfaction of helping someone to move forward and upward in their development, whether it's their personal or career development. And finally, a mentor gets to hone his or her skills every time they engage in a mentorship type of relationship. The benefits for the mentee are a little more obvious. The mentee receives guidance and feedback and maybe even resources and opportunities. You may be wondering, how long should a mentoring relationship last? That also depends on a number of variables and is something that should be discussed at the beginning of a mentorship. A relationship between a mentor and a mentee can last for as long as it takes to achieve a goal or a set of goals. Or it may be one that is ongoing for years, where new goals are added with the passage of time. That really depends on the individuals involved. Things such as willingness to participate in a mentoring relationship will come into play when it comes to deciding the length of a mentoring relationship, how long it will last. But it also has to take into consideration things such as the mentor's skill sets and ability to mentor for specific goals. So if a mentor is not as qualified or not qualified at all for certain goals, it makes sense to get engaged with a different mentor for different goals. As this episode comes to an end, let's review what was discussed. While a mentoring relationship can come in many flavors, what's important to remember is that it should be beneficial to both the mentor and the mentee. We can have a one-on-one relationship when it comes to mentoring, or one-to-many type of mentorship relationship. A mentoring relationship can be one that benefits the mentee in a professional setting or in their personal life. It can be thought of as a relationship of mutual respect and as an alliance where both parties work towards the achievement of the mentee's goals. The mentor should be involved in all stages of the mentorship relationship, from goal setting and planning to feedback and guidance. A mentor can also provide resources and opportunities. A mentorship is the type of relationship that should benefit all who are involved. And while it can last only for the duration of the achievement of one or a set of goals that were agreed upon at the beginning, a mentorship relationship can also last for many years and include many goals that are developed with the passage of time. As the week unfolds, I invite you to consider the concept of mentoring and how it applies in your own life. Whether you are seeking a mentor or whether you would like to mentor someone, or perhaps both, it's a good time to consider what it is that you are looking for in the other person. And if you can identify a person like that in your life, then all you can do is ask and see if they would be willing to invest the time and energy to partner with you and be part of that relationship, whether they would be a mentor to you or whether they would allow you to be a mentor to them. It's something where both parties have to be willing to participate, and both parties have to feel like they're a good match with each other so that it can be a good alliance and a good relationship moving forward. And an important note to make here is that you can be a mentor to someone and you can also have a mentor or mentors of your own. It's quite normal to be part of mentoring relationship in the different roles, because there's always someone else that we can teach from our own knowledge and experience, but of course there's always someone else who can teach us because they have more knowledge and experience. So considering the many benefits of mentoring, I encourage you to consider the idea of becoming a mentor or finding a mentor for yourself, or both, as you move forward so that you too can benefit from the idea and concept of mentorship. Thank you for joining me today. Please subscribe to this podcast. I hope that you will join me again next time. Until then, I wish you joy and well-being.